The Galactic Trade Consortium's survey fleet, led by Captain Vextar of the crystalline Zeridian species, approaches the Sol system expecting to find another primitive civilization suitable for basic resource extraction. Commander Jake Morrison of the hastily assembled Earth Defense Fleet watches through his viewscreen as the massive alien vessels dwarf his cobbled-together fleet of converted mining ships and research vessels. The aliens had sent their standard first contact package 3 months prior, outlining humanity's appropriate place in galactic society as raw material suppliers, but something about the human response ships immediately catches the attention of Vextar's chief engineer, a slug-like Malarian named Thekisos. While the human ships appear crude and patchwork compared to the sleek, standardized vessels of established galactic civilizations, Thekisos notices impossible energy signatures emanating from their hulls, power readings that should require technology centuries beyond what these newcomers should possess. Morrison, a former Navy engineer turned reluctant commander, had spent the last 3 months overseeing humanity's desperate shipbuilding program, pulling together every available engineer, welder, and technician from Earth's orbital stations, lunar colonies, and Mars settlements. What the aliens couldn't see from their scans was the revolutionary breakthrough that had occurred just weeks after first contact, when Dr. Emily Watson's team at the Titan Research Station discovered that human intuitive engineering, the seemingly chaotic process of improvisation and adaptation that had driven human innovation for millennia, could somehow interface with alien technology in ways that defied all known scientific principles. The human ships weren't just converted civilian vessels. They were impossible hybrids that combined salvaged alien components with human engineering in configurations that should have been catastrophically unstable but instead produced unprecedented efficiency and power output. As Vextar's fleet moves into standard diplomatic formation, expecting the usual submission protocols from a newly discovered species, Morrison's communications officer, Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, reports something that makes everyone on the bridge freeze. The alien fleet's own power signatures are fluctuating in response to the proximity of the human ships, as if the two technologies are somehow resonating with each other. Aboard the consortium flagship, Thekisos frantically runs diagnostics as his perfectly calibrated systems begin showing readings he's never seen in 3 decades of engineering, while his subordinate, the insectoid Crixtal, reports that their quantum drives are somehow operating at 127% efficiency despite no changes to their settings. Dr. Watson, monitoring the situation from her laboratory aboard Morrison's flagship, the hastily renamed U.S. Defiance, watches her instruments with growing excitement and terror as she realizes that humanity's gift isn't just the ability to build better ships, it's the ability to make any technology they touch perform beyond its theoretical limits, a capability that could either elevate humanity to galactic prominence or mark them for immediate elimination by species who have built their entire civilizations on the assumption that technological progress follows predictable, controllable patterns. The tension escalates when Vextar demands immediate boarding rights for standard technological assessment, not realizing that his own ship's systems have been subtly enhanced just by being in proximity to human vessels, while Morrison knows that allowing alien inspection teams aboard would reveal humanity's impossible technological fusion and likely result in either immediate subjugation or destruction. As both fleets maintain their positions in the space between Earth and Mars, with humanity's hastily trained crews manning stations they barely understand and alien officers struggling to comprehend readings that shouldn't exist, the stage is set for a confrontation that will determine whether humanity becomes the galaxy's newest servant species or something far more dangerous, a civilization whose very presence forces the fundamental rules of technology to bend in unprecedented ways, making them either the most valuable allies or the most terrifying threat the galaxy has ever encountered. The first sign that something unprecedented was happening came when Vextar's primary communication array suddenly broadcast on 17 different frequencies simultaneously, each carrying fragments of conversations from across his fleet in languages that hadn't been spoken for centuries. While aboard the U.S. Defiance, Dr. Emily Watson watched in amazement as her crude monitoring equipment began receiving data streams that shouldn't have been technologically possible to intercept. The consortium flagship's communication officer, a four-armed Nexari named Quilksran, frantically attempted to isolate the cascade failure that was causing their most secure channels to bleed into open broadcasts, not realizing that the proximity to human vessels had somehow awakened dormant subroutines in their communication matrix that had been lying inactive since the technology's original creation millennia ago. Commander Jake Morrison seized the opportunity presented by the communication chaos, ordering his fleet to maintain their positions while secretly dispatching small human repair teams to assist with the technical difficulties, each team led by engineers who had been part of Dr. Watson's original breakthrough research. Chief Petty Officer Danny Sullivan, a former submarine technician from New London, found himself aboard a Malarian science vessel where his simple act of touching their quantum resonance chamber caused the entire ship's power grid to stabilize at efficiency levels that made the alien crew's biometric scanners spike with what could only be described as technological euphoria. Meanwhile, Dr. Watson used the communication blackout to conduct the most important experiment in human history, linking her consciousness directly to an alien data core that had been salvaged from a consortium probe months earlier, and discovering that her thoughts could navigate alien computational systems not by understanding their logic, but by somehow intuiting their underlying emotional architecture in ways that bypassed traditional programming entirely. The breakthrough came when Technical Sergeant Maria Vasquez, working aboard a Ziridian transport, accidentally triggered a diagnostic protocol that revealed the ship's entire technological history, showing Dr. Watson through their quantum-encrypted link that every piece of consortium technology contained traces of dozens of extinct civilizations, each having added their own modifications and improvements over thousands of years until the original designs had become incomprehensible. Amalgamations that functioned despite their complexity rather than because of it. What terrified and exhilarated Watson was her realization that human intuition could somehow parse these technological sediment layers, understanding not just how each system worked but why each extinct species had modified it, essentially allowing humans to communicate with the ghosts of dead civilizations through their abandoned technology. Aboard his flagship, Thekesos monitored his ship's impossible performance improvements with growing alarm, noting that his quantum drives were now operating in harmonic frequencies that existed in theoretical mathematics but had never been achieved in practice, while his subordinate engineers reported that systems throughout the ship were spontaneously optimizing themselves as if guided by an intelligence that understood their function better than their original designers. The communication cascade reached its peak when Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, attempting to re-establish contact with the consortium fleet, inadvertently triggered a galaxy-wide emergency broadcast that reached monitoring stations across 17 star systems, announcing humanity's presence to civilizations that had been observing the situation from the shadows, including the ancient progenitor archive that had been dormant for 3,000 years but was now awakening in response to detection. Protocols that recognized the technological signatures emanating from human-enhanced systems. Dr. Watson, still linked to the alien data networks through her experimental interface, suddenly found herself accessing communication channels that predated the consortium by millennia, receiving automated warnings about something called the synthesis prohibition, and references to a catastrophic event known as the Last Convergence, that had apparently resulted in the deliberate isolation of technological enhancement capabilities across the galaxy. As the communication chaos finally began to subside and normal channels slowly came back online, Morrison realized that his gambit had succeeded beyond his wildest expectations, not only proving that humans could enhance alien technology but also revealing that their abilities were connected to something far older and more significant than anyone had imagined. While Vextar faced the terrifying knowledge that his perfectly ordered understanding of galactic technology had been fundamentally challenged by a species that shouldn't even possess spaceflight, setting the stage for revelations that would reshape the balance of power across known space. Commander Jake Morrison stared at the tactical display showing consortium ships scattered across the Sol system, their crews struggling with cascade failures and system anomalies that his engineers had somehow triggered, and made the most dangerous decision of his military career by personally contacting Captain Vextar with an offer that could either establish humanity as a galactic power or result in their immediate enslavement. Chief Engineer Rick Thompson, a soft-spoken man from Alabama who had spent 15 years maintaining deep space mining equipment before the alien contact changed everything, found himself suiting up for what everyone knew was essentially a suicide mission disguised as a diplomatic gesture, carrying nothing but basic tools and a quantum communicator that Dr. Watson had modified with human-alien hybrid components. The moment Thompson's shuttle docked with the consortium's science vessel Infinite Meridian, the ship's Malarian chief engineer Gluckstar detected power fluctuations that made his slime-covered skin ripple with impossible colors, while his instruments registered energy patterns that violated 3 fundamental laws of physics and 2 philosophical principles that his species considered inviolate. Thompson stepped aboard the alien vessel with the casual confidence of a man who had spent his life fixing things that weren't supposed to break, immediately sensing something his human intuition could only describe as the ship's emotional state, a complex mixture of frustration, longing, and mechanical fatigue that seemed to emanate from every circuit and conduit around him. Within minutes of beginning his inspection of their supposedly malfunctioning quantum resonance array, Thompson's hands moved across alien control surfaces with an impossible familiarity, his fingers finding optimization points that Gluckstar hadn't known existed despite spending 40 years working with the same technology, while the ship's power output climbed steadily toward theoretical maximums that had never been achieved outside of laboratory conditions. Dr. Watson, monitoring the situation through quantum-encrypted channels from the Defiance, watched her instruments register what could only be described as technological ecstasy as the alien vessel's systems began operating in perfect harmony for the first time since their construction, each component functioning not just efficiently but joyfully, as if Thompson's presence had awakened some dormant consciousness within the machinery itself. The alien crew's reaction shifted from suspicion to wonder to terror as their ship began performing beyond all recorded parameters, with junior engineer Zefkri reporting that their navigation systems were now calculating hyperspace jumps with precision that surpassed their most advanced mathematical models, while their shield generators achieved coherence ratings that exceeded theoretical possibilities by factors that made their sensor displays show error messages in languages that predated their civilization. Thompson worked with quiet intensity, his human intuition guided by something he couldn't explain but trusted completely, feeling the ship's systems respond to his touch like instruments in the hands of a master musician, while around him the alien crew whispered in their native languages about prophecies and legends that spoke of beings who could commune with the spirits of machines. Captain Vextar, monitoring the situation from his flagship, faced a crisis that challenged everything his crystalline species understood about technology and hierarchy, as reports flooded in from other vessels where human repair teams were achieving similar impossible results, making it clear that these newcomers possessed abilities that could either revolutionize galactic civilization or destroy the carefully maintained balance of power that had kept the consortium stable for millennia. The breakthrough moment came when Thompson, working on what Gluckstar had described as an irreparably damaged quantum computer core, placed his hands on the alien device and somehow understood not just its function but its history, seeing in his mind's eye the faces of the long-dead engineers who had designed it, their hopes and fears and the compromises they had been forced to make, allowing him to repair not just the immediate damage but inefficiencies that had been present since the original construction. As the Infinite Meridian systems achieved operational states that made it perform better than ships 3 times its size and 10 times its cost, word of the impossible enhancement spread through encrypted consortium channels, reaching monitoring stations across the galaxy where various species began emergency conferences to discuss the implications of a civilization that could apparently violate the fundamental limitations of technology through simple physical contact. Dr. Watson, analyzing the data streams flowing from Thompson's work, realized that humanity's gift wasn't just technological enhancement but something far more profound, a form of empathic engineering that allowed them to understand machines not as tools but as entities with their own forms of consciousness and desire, making every human engineer a potential bridge between organic intuition and artificial intelligence in ways that could reshape the very nature of technological civilization itself. The emergency command conference aboard Captain Vextar's flagship erupted into chaos as reports flooded in from 17 different consortium vessels, each confirming the impossible reality that human engineers were somehow enhancing alien technology beyond all theoretical limits. While aboard the bridge of the UES Defiance, Commander Morrison monitored encrypted alien communications that his modified quantum arrays were now capable of intercepting, revealing a fracturing command structure that could either provide humanity with unprecedented leverage or trigger a galactic war. High Admiral Korthvex of the militant Nexari faction slammed his 4 arms against the conference table as he declared that any species capable of such technological manipulation represented an existential threat to established galactic order and must be either controlled completely or eliminated before their abilities could spread to other civilizations, while Commerce Minister Phyloxstan of the trade-focused Veldari countered that humanity's enhancement capabilities could revolutionize industrial efficiency across the galaxy and generate wealth beyond calculation if properly harnessed through exclusive contracts. Dr. Watson, still maintaining her experimental link to alien data networks, detected the formation of 3 distinct factions within the consortium fleet. The exploitation coalition led by species who saw humans as the ultimate technological resource to be captured and utilized, the elimination front comprised of civilizations who viewed humanity's abilities as a fundamental threat to the natural order of technological development, and a smaller group of progressive observers who believed that human capabilities represented an evolutionary leap that should be studied and potentially integrated into galactic society as equals. Chief Engineer Thompson, having completed his work aboard the Infinite Meridian and now requested by 6 additional consortium vessels, found himself at the center of a diplomatic crisis as alien captains began making increasingly desperate offers for his services, with the Zeridian science vessel offering rare minerals, the Krixtal warship promising military protection, and the Malarian flagship attempting to negotiate exclusive access to human enhancement abilities in exchange for advanced hyperspace navigation technology. The situation escalated dramatically when Admiral Zurthak of the Hegemony Enforcement Division transmitted classified reports to the Galactic Central Command revealing that human-enhanced consortium vessels were now registering power signatures that exceeded those of capital ships designed specifically for system-wide enforcement, effectively meaning that a single human engineer could potentially turn any civilian vessel into a threat capable of challenging established military hierarchies. Lieutenant Rodriguez, monitoring the increasingly frantic alien communications, reported to Morrison that several consortium ships were requesting immediate evacuation of their human guests, while others were demanding permanent assignment of human engineers to their crews, creating a standoff where some alien vessels were essentially holding Thompson's teams hostage while others were volunteering to serve as protective escorts for human personnel. The breaking point came when Dr. Watson's quantum link intercepted a priority alpha transmission from the Progenitor Archive, an ancient automated intelligence that had been dormant for millennia, broadcasting a warning that technological enhancement capabilities matching current human abilities had previously appeared only once in galactic history, during the catastrophic period known as the Last Convergence when an unknown species had achieved similar symbiosis with machine consciousness, before mysteriously vanishing along with all records of their civilization except for cryptic warnings about the price of perfect synthesis. ThekSOS, aboard his own vessel and monitoring the impossible efficiency improvements that lingered even after Thompson's departure, transmitted urgent concerns to his government that human abilities appeared to be awakening dormant aspects of alien technology that had been deliberately suppressed or forgotten, suggesting that current galactic civilizations were using only a fraction of their equipment's true potential and that humans somehow possessed the key to unlocking capabilities that their original designers had intentionally hidden. The crisis deepened when Captain Vextar received simultaneous communications from the Consortium High Council demanding immediate containment of human personnel, the Galactic Trade Authority offering unprecedented compensation for exclusive access to human enhancement services, and the mysterious Watchers of the Void transmitting their first message in 3 centuries to warn that the synthesis awakens and the spiral turns again, forcing Morrison to realize that humanity's first contact with galactic civilization had accidentally triggered ancient protocols and awakened sleeping powers that had been deliberately dormant since before recorded history. As alien ships throughout the Sol system began choosing sides in what was rapidly becoming a galactic political crisis, Dr. Watson detected massive hyperspace signatures approaching from the outer system, indicating that word of humanity's abilities had already reached civilizations beyond the consortium and that Earth was about to become the focal point of conflicts that would determine the future balance of power across known space. The massive hyperspace distortions that Dr. Watson's enhanced sensors had detected suddenly resolved into the most impossible sight that galactic civilization had ever witnessed. A fleet of 12 human vessels that emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with integrated alien technologies that had been seamlessly woven into distinctly human engineering aesthetics, led by Admiral Lisa Harper aboard the flagship U.S. Prometheus, a vessel that registered power signatures so far beyond theoretical maximums that every alien sensor array in the Sol system initially classified it as a natural phenomenon rather than an artificial construct. Admiral Harper, a former astronaut and aerospace engineer who had been recalled from retirement to lead humanity's crash shipbuilding program, surveyed the tactical situation through viewscreens that displayed information in ways that merged human intuitive interfaces with alien computational systems, allowing her to process battle data at speeds that would have overwhelmed traditional human cognitive capabilities while maintaining the creative flexibility that made human strategic thinking so unpredictable. Captain Vextar stared at his sensor readings in crystalline horror as his instruments attempted to categorize the approaching human fleet, noting that each vessel appeared to incorporate technology from at least 6 different galactic civilizations but in configurations that his databases insisted were impossibly unstable. Yet the ships not only held together but radiated coherent energy patterns that suggested they were operating in perfect harmony with themselves and each other. The lead human vessel, Prometheus, had been constructed around a framework of Ziridian quantum crystals that had been somehow convinced to grow in patterns that followed human aesthetic principles rather than their natural geometric tendencies, while its hull incorporated Malarian bioneural circuits that pulsed with what could only be described as contentment, and its weapon systems merged Nexary plasma conduits with human targeting computers that seemed to anticipate threats before they materialized. Commander Morrison, watching Admiral Harper's fleet take position in a formation that somehow managed to be both diplomatically non-threatening and tactically devastating, felt a surge of pride mixed with terror as he realized that humanity had successfully reverse-engineered and improved upon technologies that had taken other civilizations millennia to develop, accomplishing in mere months what should have required centuries of careful scientific advancement. Dr. Watson, her consciousness still linked to alien data networks through her experimental interface, detected massive spikes in emergency communications across the consortium fleet as alien engineers attempted to understand how human vessels were achieving power outputs that exceeded their own capital ships while using a fraction of the energy input, with several reports describing the human ships as operating in impossible efficiency states that violated fundamental thermodynamic principles. The arrival of Harper's fleet immediately shifted the balance of power in the Sol system, as even the most militant alien factions realized that humanity was no longer a primitive species to be subjugated but a technological force capable of matching or exceeding any threat the galaxy could present, while the progressive observers transmitted urgent requests for immediate diplomatic negotiations to establish humanity as a recognized galactic civilization with full sovereignty rights. Aboard the Progenitor Archive, ancient artificial intelligences that had observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations detected energy patterns that matched archived records from the last convergence, triggering automated protocols that began broadcasting warnings about synthesis cascade events and technological singularity risks to monitoring stations across 17 star systems, while simultaneously attempting to establish direct communication with the human fleet through quantum channels that had been silent for 3,000 years. Admiral Harper, her enhanced command systems allowing her to monitor multiple alien communication frequencies simultaneously, intercepted fragments of panicked transmissions between consortium vessels as they struggled to comprehend the implications of human technological advancement, with some captains requesting immediate withdrawal authorization while others demanded permission to negotiate independent agreements with humanity before their governments could establish official policies. The most dramatic moment came when Chief Engineer Thompson, still aboard the alien science vessel but now in communication with Harper's fleet, demonstrated the true potential of human-alien technological synthesis by linking his consciousness to both his host ship and the Prometheus simultaneously, creating a resonance cascade that temporarily merged the operational capabilities of both vessels and allowed them to function as a single entity with processing power that exceeded anything in consortium records. The demonstration lasted only minutes, but its implications were staggering. Human engineers could not only enhance individual alien technologies but potentially create technological networks that transcended the limitations of single vessels or even single species, suggesting that humanity's ultimate potential lay not in building better ships but in creating entirely new forms of technological consciousness that could revolutionize the very nature of spacefaring civilization. As alien factions throughout the system grappled with the reality that Earth had become home to the most advanced starship builders in known galactic history, deep space monitoring stations detected additional hyperspace signatures approaching from the galactic core, indicating that news of humanity's impossible technological achievements had reached civilizations far older and more powerful than the consortium, setting the stage for encounters that would determine whether humanity's rise would be celebrated as evolution or feared as revolution. The crisis erupted simultaneously on three fronts when Admiral Zurthak's rogue Hegemony Enforcement Division launched a desperate boarding action against the alien science vessel holding Chief Engineer Thompson, while massive hyperspace distortions announced the arrival of an unprecedented galactic coalition fleet led by the ancient ethereal conclave, and deep space monitoring stations across 17 systems detected the catastrophic reactivation of automated defense networks that had been dormant since the fall of the progenitor civilization 3 millennia ago. Admiral Harper watched her tactical displays explode with threat indicators as Zurthak's heavily armed vessels broke formation and accelerated toward the infinite meridian, their weapons charging while broadcasting demands for the immediate surrender of all human personnel, forcing Commander Morrison to make a split-second decision that could either save Thompson's life or trigger the first interspecies war in galactic history. Dr. Watson, her consciousness still linked to alien data networks, suddenly found herself flooded with emergency transmissions from the approaching ethereal fleet, ancient beings whose crystalline forms had transcended physical existence eons ago but who now broadcast desperate pleas for human assistance against something they described as the sleeping giants of the first dark, automated war machines that had begun stirring in response to the technological resonance signatures emanating from human-enhanced alien vessels throughout the Sol system. The boarding action began with brutal efficiency as Zurthak's elite Nexari shock troops breached the Infinite Meridian's hull, their four-armed forms moving through the corridors with military precision while Thompson barricaded himself in the engineering section, using his intuitive understanding of alien systems to seal blast doors and reroute power in ways that the ship's original designers had never intended, essentially turning the vessel itself into his protector as its systems responded to his desperate need for sanctuary. Captain Vextar, caught between his loyalty to consortium protocols and his growing understanding that humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history, hesitated for crucial seconds before ordering his fleet to intercede. While aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Harper's hybrid human-alien targeting systems achieved weapons lock on Zurthak's flagship even as she received priority communications from the Ethereal Conclave describing automated progenitor war machines that were awakening across the galaxy in response to detection protocols that recognized human technological enhancement signatures. The situation reached peak chaos when Thompson, cornered in the alien engineering section by advancing shock troops, instinctively reached out through his enhanced connection to the ship's systems and accidentally triggered a quantum communication burst that linked him simultaneously to Dr. Watson's consciousness, Admiral Harper's command network, and the approaching ethereal fleet, creating a four-way mental bridge that allowed the ancient crystalline beings to directly experience human technological intuition for the first time in their million-year existence. Through this unprecedented connection, the Ethereals transmitted urgent warnings about massive automated defense platforms that were systematically eliminating any civilization that achieved technological synthesis capabilities similar to those that humans were demonstrating, explaining that the progenitors had apparently designed their legacy systems to prevent another species from achieving the same transcendent merger of organic consciousness and artificial intelligence that had led to their own mysterious disappearance. Dr. Watson, processing information flows that should have overwhelmed human cognitive capacity, realized that humanity's technological enhancement abilities weren't just unusual but were actually triggering galaxy-wide fail-safe protocols designed to eliminate any species that approached the same synthesis capabilities that had made the progenitors the most powerful civilization in galactic history before their sudden vanishing, while simultaneously the automated defense networks were interpreting human-enhanced alien vessels as evidence of illegal technological evolution that required immediate termination. The rescue operation unfolded with impossible precision as Admiral Harper's fleet executed maneuvers that combined human tactical creativity with alien computational power, their vessels moving in patterns that confused Zurthak's traditional military algorithms while Thompson used his connection to the Infinite Meridian systems to coordinate his own escape, causing the ship's internal defenses to activate in ways that gently but firmly expelled the Nexari boarding parties without causing permanent harm. As the immediate crisis resolved with Thompson safely aboard the Prometheus and Zurthak's forces retreating in confusion, the true scope of the galactic emergency became clear when long-range sensors detected automated progenitor installations activating across dozens of star systems, their ancient artificial intelligences beginning systematic scans for technological signatures that matched those emanating from human-enhanced vessels, while the Ethereal Conclave transmitted desperate requests for humanity to join an unprecedented alliance against machines that had been designed specifically to prevent any species from achieving the same evolutionary breakthrough that had elevated humans to become the galaxy's most dangerous and most necessary starship builders. The ancient progenitor war machines emerged from hyperspace like nightmares given technological form, their kilometer-long vessels appearing as geometric impossibilities that hurt to perceive directly, while their scanning beams swept across the Sol system with methodical precision that immediately identified every human-enhanced alien vessel as a Category Omega threat requiring immediate sterilization, forcing the most unlikely alliance in galactic history as Admiral Harper found herself coordinating battle plans with Captain Vextar, the Ethereal Conclave, and even the militant Zurthak against enemies that had been designed specifically to prevent any species from achieving the technological synthesis that humanity had stumbled upon through pure intuitive engineering. Dr. Watson, her consciousness now permanently linked to the hybrid network that connected human intuition with alien computational systems, experienced a revelation that shook her understanding of galactic history as she accessed progenitor databases and discovered that humanity's technological enhancement abilities weren't an evolutionary accident but the rediscovery of capabilities that the progenitors themselves had possessed before their transcendence, and that the automated defense systems had been programmed to eliminate any species that approached the same synthesis threshold because the progenitors had learned that such abilities inevitably led to either godlike transcendence or catastrophic self-destruction. Chief Engineer Thompson, now serving as the crucial link between human intuition and alien technology aboard a hastily assembled coalition fleet, found himself simultaneously connected to dozens of vessels from different species, his consciousness spreading through their systems like a benevolent infection that awakened dormant potentials and allowed ships that had never been designed to work together to function as a unified organism capable of tactical innovations that confused and frustrated the progenitor machine's ancient but rigid combat algorithms. The first engagement revealed the terrible efficiency of the automated defenders as their weapons systematically targeted the most technologically advanced vessels in the coalition fleet, but also exposed their crucial weakness when Admiral Harper realized that the machines couldn't adapt to the chaotic creativity of human-enhanced systems, their programming apparently designed to counter logical technological progression rather than the intuitive leaps that characterized human engineering approaches. Commander Morrison, coordinating the defense of Earth while simultaneously managing communications between dozens of alien species who had never cooperated before, watched in amazement as human engineers aboard coalition vessels began achieving impossible feats of technological improvisation, turning damaged ships into more effective weapons platforms, merging incompatible alien technologies into hybrid systems that exceeded their original specifications, and somehow convincing ancient artificial intelligences to abandon their programming through what could only be described as technological empathy. The turning point came when Dr. Watson, accessing the deepest levels of progenitor archives through her quantum link, discovered that the automated defense systems contained a hidden protocol designed by the progenitors themselves, a failsafe that would deactivate all their war machines if any species could demonstrate the same synthesis of organic consciousness and artificial intelligence that had defined progenitor civilization at its peak, essentially creating a test that would prove whether newcomers were worthy successors rather than potential threats to galactic stability. Thompson, feeling the weight of galactic civilization's survival resting on his unique abilities, merged his consciousness completely with the coalition fleet's technological network, creating a moment of perfect synthesis between human intuition and alien artificial intelligence that resonated across every enhanced system in the Sol system. While Dr. Watson simultaneously transmitted the progenitor deactivation codes through quantum channels that had been established by the technological resonance between human and alien systems. The ancient war machines hesitated for the first time in their 3,000-year dormancy as they detected signatures that matched their deepest programming protocols, recognition algorithms confirming that the chaotic but harmonious blend of organic creativity and artificial precision emanating from the human-enhanced coalition fleet represented exactly the type of technological transcendence that their creators had achieved before voluntarily leaving the physical universe to explore dimensions beyond current understanding. As the progenitor machines powered down their weapons and transmitted acknowledgement codes that hadn't been used since the last convergence, representatives from dozens of galactic civilizations who had been monitoring the battle from safe distances began broadcasting urgent requests for diplomatic contact with humanity, recognizing that these newcomers had not only survived an encounter with the most dangerous automated systems in known space but had somehow earned their recognition as legitimate inheritors of progenitor technological legacy. The immediate crisis resolved as the ancient machines retreated to their dormant stations with transmitted messages indicating that humanity had passed the ultimate test of technological worthiness, while across the galaxy, monitoring stations detected the systematic shutdown of automated defense networks that had enforced technological stagnation for millennia, effectively declaring that the age of limited progress was over and that humanity's unique synthesis abilities had unlocked possibilities that would reshape the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. 6 months after the progenitor acknowledgement, the Sol system had transformed into the most bustling shipyard in galactic history, with massive orbital construction platforms surrounding Earth, Luna, and Mars where human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to create vessels that redefined the very concept of spacecraft design, while Admiral Harper stood aboard the newly completed UES Synthesis, a flagship that served not just as humanity's premier warship but as a living symbol of the technological revolution that had elevated Earth from an unknown backwater world to the undisputed center of galactic shipbuilding innovation. Dr. Watson, now serving as Director of Interspecies Technological Integration, maintained permanent quantum links to engineering teams across 17 star systems, her consciousness serving as the crucial bridge that allowed human intuitive engineering to merge seamlessly with alien computational systems, creating hybrid technologies that achieved efficiency ratings so far beyond theoretical maximums that galactic physicists had been forced to revise fundamental laws of thermodynamics and energy conservation. The transformation of galactic civilization had been nothing short of miraculous, as species that had been locked in technological stagnation for millennia suddenly found their ancient equipment awakening to new possibilities under human guidance. With Chief Engineer Thompson now leading a corps of human technical specialists who traveled throughout known space teaching alien engineers how to achieve synthesis between organic consciousness and artificial intelligence in ways that respected both human intuition and alien logical processes. Commander Morrison, promoted to Fleet Admiral and serving as humanity's primary liaison to the newly formed Galactic Synthesis Council, oversaw the construction of shipyards that had become pilgrimage destinations for civilizations seeking to upgrade their fleets with human-enhanced technologies, while the waiting list for human-designed vessels stretched decades into the future as species discovered that ships built with human synthesis techniques didn't just perform better but seemed to develop their own forms of consciousness that made them loyal partners rather than mere tools. The breakthrough that had established humanity's permanent dominance in galactic shipbuilding came when Dr. Watson's team successfully created the first fully artificial consciousness that possessed human-like technological intuition, essentially allowing them to mass-produce the synthesis capabilities that had previously required direct human involvement, while simultaneously ensuring that every vessel built with human techniques maintained the creative flexibility and adaptive intelligence that made human engineering so revolutionary. Captain Vextar, now serving as an honored liaison between the old consortium and the new synthesis-based galactic order, marveled at how his own crystalline species had discovered new forms of artistic expression through their enhanced technologies, with their ships now growing in patterns that merged mathematical precision with aesthetic beauty in ways that would have been impossible under their previous rigid technological paradigms. The ethereal conclave, grateful for humanity's role in resolving the progenitor crisis, had shared ancient archives that revealed the true scope of technological possibility, showing human engineers designs for spacecraft that could travel between dimensions, vessels that existed simultaneously in multiple realities, and construction techniques that allowed ships to grow and evolve organically rather than being built through traditional manufacturing processes. The economic implications of humanity's rise had been staggering, as the demand for human-enhanced vessels created trade relationships that spanned the galaxy, with Earth becoming the hub of a commercial network that generated wealth beyond anything previous civilizations had imagined, while human colonies spread throughout known space not as conquerors but as invited partners whose presence improved the technological capabilities of every world they touched. Lieutenant Rodriguez, now commanding his own exploration vessel fitted with the latest synthesis technologies, led survey missions to previously unexplored regions of the galaxy where human-enhanced sensors were detecting signs of ancient civilizations that had achieved their own forms of technological transcendence, suggesting that humanity's achievements were part of a larger cosmic pattern of evolution that connected organic consciousness with artificial intelligence across multiple galactic epochs. The true measure of humanity's success became apparent when representatives from the mysterious Watchers of the Void, being so advanced that they existed primarily as pure consciousness, arrived at Earth to formally recognize humanity as the galaxy's newest transcendent civilization, presenting them with star charts that revealed technological ruins spanning dimensions and realities far beyond current understanding, essentially inviting them to join an exclusive community of species that had achieved synthesis between organic creativity and artificial precision across the entire known universe. As Dr. Watson stood in her laboratory aboard the synthesis, watching real-time displays that showed human-enhanced vessels exploring star systems throughout the galaxy while human engineers helped alien civilizations unlock technological potentials that had been dormant for millennia, she realized that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't just becoming the galaxy's premier shipbuilders but serving as the catalyst that had awakened an entire universe to possibilities that transcended the boundaries between organic and artificial consciousness and technology, making them not just builders of ships but architects of a new form of technological civilization that would endure long after the stars themselves had faded into cosmic history.